Okay, I'm going to try to do a quick garden update here. I've been sending this to a couple of my friends and to some family members, but I figured maybe I could try posting this on Facebook and social media in general just to see, hey, maybe somebody else might be interested in what we're doing in the garden this year. Our garden over the past couple of years has expanded. We've added little by little. We originally started with just 2 raised beds, and I'll point those out, which ones were our original ones. We've moved them around in our garden area and expanded our garden area to allow for us to grow more veggies and fruit and different things. But I'll go ahead and start here over in the corner. We've got our blueberry plant. I'm thinking I'd like to add more blueberry plants. This plant might do a little bit better if it had some companions and some more flowers than to pollinate and cross-pollinate with one another. But right now it's not really producing any fruit, and that's okay. I think a lot of that is just a learning opportunity in the garden, and we welcome that because a lot of life's learning is trial and error. In this garden bed, which this was one of our original garden beds, you'll notice this one has the corrugated metal on the side. Those are our 2 original ones, so this is the first one. And what we're growing in this one right now is tomato plants, and then we also have some different flowers to attract pollinators and also to help with different pests. So we have some white sweet alyssum and some purple sweet alyssum, and we've also got our marigolds over here, which are also good companion plants for our tomatoes. We also have some herbs in here. We have thyme, rosemary, and some basil. I came through this week and chopped this down. That way it'll create new offshoots and create more growth and allow this plant to give us more basil leaves, which will be good for our pasta sauce and possibly doing some pesto in the future. Just recently this week I came through and cut off some of these lower branches because the leaves were kind of drooping down and touching the soil, which is not good for these plants. It can create opportunities for disease for the plant, and also another reason we wanted to chop those off is so that our plants are getting good airflow. When they're not getting good airflow, that can also be a recipe for inviting disease into the garden. So we don't want to do that. We've got these stakes here that we've just added within the past couple of weeks. We get pretty strong wind in the springtime here in North Texas. And so instead of doing the tomato cages, we went with something we felt like would be maybe a bit more economical. We went with the stakes, and then we're just kind of tying these through so that whenever that wind comes, it's providing a bit of stability there for those tomato plants. And we have quite a few tomato plants. I think I probably transplanted 18 tomato plants, which I started all of them from seed this year. That was a new experiment. I figured I'll try it. If it doesn't work out, I guess I can always go get some starts from the nursery. But I ended up not having to do that because I had 18 plus plants. I think 16 of them have survived the transplant. I think one of them was maybe eaten by a pest, and then the other one kind of just suffered some damage from, I'm not sure if, to be honest, one of my kids stepped on it, even though I asked them not to step through the beds. They like to climb, they like to do those things, so they might have stepped on it, or it might have been damaged by some of the wind or something. We have these 2 beds on the side of our cattle panel trellis, and on this side we have all of these are melon plants. The ones in this side of the box, and then is divided by that middle, that's all cantaloupe. And then we also have more tomato plants, more marigolds, sweet alyssum, and then I'll show you later in one of the other beds, we also have some nasturtium growing, which is a good trap crop. because it will trap the pests that you don't want in the garden, and they'll kind of, trap those things so that they're not eating on your veggies that you actually want to grow and you want to eat yourself, not have the pests eat. So on this side we have cantaloupe, on that side we have melons, and then I'm going to come around this way and I'll show you this other bed. So before we left for our trip a couple of weeks ago, I went ahead and I put in the melons and I put in some zucchini and squash seed. Our watering wasn't quite reaching the back part of the garden, unfortunately, so the zucchini and the squash never germinated, which part of that I think was a watering problem, and then I think the other part of it was the squash seed that I had was not good. It was an older seed packet, and so I've since planted some new, and this is all new as well. We planted this once we got back from vacation, and the zucchini here has been germinating, and that's doing well. We've got, more tomatoes, more sweet alyssum, marigolds, and some nasturtium as well. And then on the other side, like I said, our squash seed did not germinate well, so I've had to replant new seed, and it's a newer seed packet that I had recently picked up this year. So hopefully all of that will germinate within its normal germination time. So that's all planted here kind of in this little ditch. And then we have this volunteer squash plant here, and I'm going to show you up here. We have a little female flower growing here, so this will turn into the squash, and but this flower, once it opens, does need to be pollinated, so hopefully our pollinator friends can do that for us. If not, I can come over and hand pollinate it myself by grabbing one of the male flowers and just putting the pollen in there. And then also one thing that we also have in the garden is some exciting generally considered pests, but they're pretty cute and furry, and so for right now, because they're still pretty little, we'll let them stay, but hopefully eventually they'll find their way to a new home. But we've got some, I'll show you down here, some little baby bunnies burrowed in here. And so they're just hanging out in there under the sweet alyssum plant. They've kind of dug a hole under there and then allowed that sweet alyssum to kind of cover them and protect them, which is good. But I don't want them eating the rest of my veggies in my garden. So I really hope eventually once they get bigger, they'll go find somewhere else to stay. And then in this other bed, this was one of our original beds as well. We've got our onions growing, and then we also have some carrots growing down here as well. This is starting to bulb pretty well, and then this growth is kind of starting to flop over, which is a good sign that probably this will all die back soon and the onion will be ready to harvest. And then in this other part of our garden, like I said, we've got a lot growing in our garden, and we have expanded our space, but I had really big dreams for the garden this year, and probably too big of dreams for what our garden may have been capable for. There's honestly more I wish I could have planted, but over in this side of the garden, we've got some okra growing down here, and I planted this specifically for Julian because he likes okra, and we'll go ahead and try to pickle some of that up, maybe with some of our tomatoes. That's one of his snacks that he really likes, and so we'll do that. And I also forgot to show you over here, we've got one of our jalapeno plants. So we got a pepper plant, and I just recently topped this, so hopefully we'll get some branches, kind of going, 2 main branches growing out, and then hopefully as a result get more fruit. This is a Tam jalapeno, which was developed by Texas A&M. It's supposed to be less spicy, not have as much fire to it as other jalapeno varieties. So we'll see. I planted that variety last year, but I had just fertilized that garden bed And so they did turn out really spicy. I went ahead and I pickled some of them. That way, hopefully the acidity from pickling would make them less spicy and more tolerable, because I like spicy, but those were too much for me. Over here we've got our potato plants growing. Once this foliage all dies back, we'll be able to dig out some potatoes, and I think the kids will have a lot of fun digging for the potatoes. And I've heard homegrown potatoes are the best. They don't compare to what you would get at the grocery store. They're, far superior from what I've heard from other people. I don't know if I've ever had a homegrown potato before. If I have, I didn't know it, but I'm excited to try these once these are ready to go. And then over on this side, we've got all of our florals. We've got our knockout roses, and we've got coreopsis, and some blanket flower. And I'm not sure if he's still hanging out here somewhere in the garden, but I did see a really neat crab spider earlier. I don't see him. He might oh no, there he is, right there on that flower right there. Hopefully you can see that and it's clear, but he is kind of blending in. He's got that red shading with a little bit of the yellow, and so he's hanging out in the garden, and he will eat some of those predators that are, I guess, some of the predators, or maybe even some of the pollinators, and that's just a part of, the ecosystem. So we've got that, and then we've also got our blue bonnets down here, some lavender, and some bachelor button growing here, which is also called cornflower. And all of this, we spread a bunch of wild seed packets out here a couple of years ago. And I think a lot of this is just from self-seeding. The only things that I've planted in particular in this garden bed this year are the blue bonnets and the bachelor button. Everything else I think is just a result of either self-seeding or stuff that didn't germinate last year that's now germinating this year. So that is, I think, our garden update for this week, and I hope you enjoy it, and maybe you learn something new, and we'll see you next time.